Hey everyone, this is the Black Manga Critic here with another video for you. So today, this video is going to be encompassing The Promised Neverland Chapter 48. And this was, a great chapter for showing you just how much of a writer Shirai is, right? And I think the one thing that I really loved about it, were sort of three things, right? One, the sort of introduction of a sort of like maybe a demon figure or a human figure that is particularly an enemy of humans within the demon world, right? Two, I love the comedic bit in the middle of the chapter with Emma and Ray and the kids. I thought that was fantastic. And three, just a little bit the bit about Ray escaping the pursuers and leaving the coordinates that Willie Minerva gave them, basically. I thought that, there's a little bit of, in terms of the way that he left it that I want to talk about. But I'm basically going to talk about those three things. So this video won't be very long. I'm trying to make sure that my weekly Shonen Jump Thursdays videos aren't any more than 15 minutes. So again, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content and if you want to be notified of more content. Like I said, I am doing this for me because I love to talk about this stuff, but I'm also doing it for you guys. So if you have manga that you want me to review for the channel, maybe other channels aren't reviewing it, other comic books, other anime, things of that nature, let me know. And I'll do a video. I'll watch an anime, I'll read a manga chapter, I'll read a comic book trade. I've gotten, things in from people on Twitter, and later on I'm going to be doing a review for Marvel's Gwenpool. I hadn't even heard of that. So now I'm I get a chance to really look back on it because I like it. So I get a chance to look back on it, review it, and let you know what I think. So the first thing that I'm gonna get to is just because the things that I'm gonna get to, I'm gonna try to get to in chronological order in terms of how they appeared in the chapter. But the first thing I want to get to is the fact, right, that Ray left coordinates for for Emma and Don and Gilda and the other children, right? So we understand that at some point, Ray understood I'm probably gonna die. This isn't gonna end well, but what we also understand is that Ray didn't leave the full coordinates, right? When Emma's talking about later on in the chapter that they're going to reach William Minerva at the place that the coordinates told them to meet them at, right? We understand that the coordinates are B06-32, but Ray only leaves the 06-32. So that's a really nice subtle way of Shirai showing us that, again, these children are very bright, they're not stupid, and even if they knew that they were going to die, they would never, let the demons catch them, or they never would be the reason that the demons in this world would catch them. So to leave that B out is really important because now the demons are here's some random numbers with a dash, but they don't necessarily know which part of the world those coordinates would track to. So I thought that was a really sort of brilliant way because as I thought about it, I was at the beginning of the chapter, I was why would Ray leave the coordinates so that the demons could find the place and maybe find the children and maybe other children and other humans who are living in some sort of colony or whatever, right? Why would he do that? But I love the fact that he left part of it because it's still great. It's still good because the children know the actual coordinates, right? But the demons don't. So I thought that was a great way of leaving information behind that they would need, but also not leaving enough for the demons to really figure out where they would be headed to. So the next thing that I really want to talk about is the comedic bit, and I loved the comedic bit because it had the right mixture of both humor and heart, right, and emotion and all those things that I think make The Promised Neverland awesome. I think that at the beginning of The Promised Neverland there wasn't too much humor because we needed to be in a state of emergency and in a state of panic because the children needed to get the hell out of the Gracefield house, right? But now that they're out of the Gracefield house and they're at least somewhere where the demons can't necessarily get to them quickly, there's a bit of time for humor, right? There's a bit of time to pace the story, and a bit of time for Shirai to say, like, okay, like, maybe the kids can, calm down a little bit, and they can, do the humor bits and things like that that you usually see in a shonen manga. And in terms of the comedic bits, I really loved how they sort of accentuated just how like ridiculous like Emma and Ray can get, right? And just how altruistic, right? They are in certain ways, but very much so like sort of self-harmy in a sense, right? Like there's like with Ray, right? The comedic bit was sort of like Ray's always trying to get himself killed, right? And that's true. Ray is always trying to get himself, like throughout the story, Ray was always trying to get himself killed. I mean, it seemed like he had not like a self-death wish, right? Like he like it seemed like he wanted to die like from the very beginning, because he like in some ways he understood that like there was no way that they were going to be able to get out of this world or fight the demons or anything like that unless like he sacrificed himself, whatever. So Ray's always sort of been trying to like think of ideas that would, one, help his friends, but may not help him, because like he in certain points he understood like, okay, we all probably won't survive, so if anyone's going to survive, like it's not going to be me. So that's always like really intense, but they do a really nice, like Shirai does a really nice job of making that humorous, and sort of the kids are sort of like, Ray's trying to kill himself again, and I love that. I thought that was really funny. I laughed out loud a few times reading the chapter. But I also love the fact that like, right after that, the kids start crying. They're, they get serious. They're like, Ray, don't kill yourself. Don't sacrifice yourself for us in that way, right? Like, stay alive. We need you. You need us, right? Like, we're a family. And, Shirai just keeps, driving that point that they are a family home. And I think like sometimes, people might forget that the kids are there because, in the first sort of part of the Promised Neverland, where they're still at the Gracefield house, the children are sort of relatively, they're still taking tests, still doing this stuff on the side, and Emma, Ray, and Norman don't tell them much, and Don and Gilda don't tell them much, right? But now that everyone knows, everyone's in on the loop in terms of information, and you see that because now like Shirai is, slowly but surely like bringing them back into the fold, making sure that they're not only aware of what the situation will is and will be in other like parts of the story, but that they're capable. I love that. Like, and he does that all just like in one sort of instance with Ray and the humor and the serious tone and the crying and all those things, right? So I also love what he did with Emma, because like Emma just like I'm pretty sure she cut off her own ear, right? Like that's nuts. Or she cut off a part of her own ear, I believe. But either way, like that was insane, right? It's like she could have cut off a part of the ear and threw it in there, and it would have been into the fire, and it would have been fine. But like no, she cut off a whole ear. That was nuts. So we understand that she's very like sort of masochistic in the way of trying to protect her family, right? And the kids, they start doing things in a sort of jokey sort of manga, shonen manga, maybe even shoujo manga, sort of like joke sort of tone, where I believe it's Gilda. She's just like, Emma, are you gonna hurt yourself again? Like, it's just really funny. Like, I laughed out loud looking at that, because like it was a great way in sort of reintroducing Gilda to us as someone who has like comedic chops, right, as a character. So I really appreciated that. And I think that like the fact that Emma understood, like, and she generally does, but I think that at this point, once she understands that the children are capable, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have to keep everything from them, or anything like that, right? Like, they can know about the history of the world, they can know, about the coordinates and things of that nature, right? And Emma needs to stop hurting herself, right? Like, she needs to like rest. She needs to make sure that she's in not necessarily perfect health, but good enough health to where like she's not collapsing, every other chapter or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's important because they need her. Like, whether or not like the children are capable, like the rest of the children are capable, like it's clear that Emma and Ray are like on another sort of level, like intellectually, physically, and things of that nature. So like they need to be alive, like, right? And one, because the story wouldn't continue if they weren't alive, but two, because like the children really do need them, right? And that includes Don and Gilda. They need them in order to survive like the rest of this demon world and get out of it and maybe get into the human world. So the third thing that I wanted to talk about was the sort of last part of the chapter where I believe his name is Sung-ju, right, and Musica are talking with one another, and in certain parts they're talking in another language, and in other parts they're talking they're speaking in English. And I think there are two things about this part that I really appreciated by both Shirai and Posuka. One, the fact that we are sort of introduced to an enemy that we really don't know much about. I mean, right, like we're supposed to sort of believe that this enemy that was already an enemy of the children from the start is probably a demon, right? But we don't know that he's human. We don't know that he might be like someone from the human world that just does not want to have any pathways open. And so anybody that's trying to open up a pathway in the demon world to the human world is an enemy to humans or human leaders or whatever. So we don't know whether the dialogue that was in the demon language, right, represented right, like the name represented a human or a demon. We're not sure yet, so we can't really make assumptions like you know, sort of grandiose assumptions at the moment. But we can assume that like the enemy is either a demon leader or a human leader, right? So I think the next thing that I sort of liked about this part was just how like sort of Posuka made, you know, like it seemed like at one point Rei was like, hey, you know, let's do this the comedy thing and like, you know, also like have a heartwarming moment and things like that. But the second that they start walking again and Sung-ju and Musica are talking about this like threat, Rei's face is like you know, like he's discerning, right? Like he's always, you know, sort of right on the money when it comes to making sure that like he's aware of what's going on, of like conversations that are happening. And I'm pretty sure that he could hear a bit of like what they were talking about. And even though the demons, right, or the like religious demons, right, like Sung-ju and Musica might not have believed that he could hear what they were saying. So I think that was like great. Like that was like a great job by Posuka to sort of draw Rei as like as worried, right, with a worried expression on his face, because like he's always like, you know, he's always on the up and up, right? Like he's always worried. He's always like his antennas are always up, and Emma's like on the side, you know, just like haha, laughing, giggling with the children. But like that's why like Emma and Rei worked so well as a pair, right? Because like certain situations are great for Emma, and like, you know, like certain situations are like where she's needed are great, but there are also certain situations where Rei is needed, right? And this is one of those situations where it's like, you know, they just had a heartwarming moment, but even after that heartwarming moment, Rei is still like, you know, on the ready, right? And always like alert. So I love that. Like I thought that was like a great way to show that, okay, Rei is alert. There is like a threat that's particularly important. And we don't necessarily know if that threat is a human or a demon. And also, I want to say that in the same vein, we don't necessarily know that William Minerva is a we don't necessarily know that William Minerva is a human or a demon, right? We're not sure. All we get is a silhouette of him in like human clothes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's human. That's just like an image of what the children, I guess, like think that William Minerva may look like. So one thing that I love about this manga, and probably why it's my favorite manga in Shonen Jump magazine, it normally would be Hunter x Hunter, but because like the way that it comes out is so sporadic, it will never be like my favorite manga to come out of Shonen Jump. I'm sorry, like just won't happen. But the reason why it's my favorite is because like there are always moments like this where, you know, there's a lot of mystery and we are just sort of left to assume things and reassume things, and I like that because it builds conversation. Right, you see forums in the Promised Neverland on like something like Manga Helpers and things like that, where people are just having really great conversations and really great predictions and thoughts about the world and the children and the demons and all that stuff. You know, so like this chapter was really great in terms of showing, like, I think just how great Shirai is as a writer. Also, just how wonderful Posuka is as an artist. Like, the demons always look very intimidating when they're shown. But just to get back to Shirai, it's like the pacing is always like on point, right? We always get time to have these moments, you know, and that's something that I talk about in other manga. Like, other manga like have these like pocket sort of moments where we get that character development, right? And it may just be a chapter, but a chapter is more than enough to develop like a character or multiple characters, right? If you're, you know, a good mangaka, if you're a good writer, right? So I always appreciate that from Shirai and The Promised Neverland, because we're always getting character development. We're always getting sort of world development, slowly but surely, and you know, everything is pretty awesome. Like for this manga, I love this manga. This chapter was really good. Not because it was like super action packed or anything like that, but because it just did the little things right. Like the comedic moment was there. The demons finding Ray's message, like right, and then the end where we get a little bit of information about who might be leading the demon world, or who might be a powerful figure in the demon world, right? So I love that. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Again, I always do this, but like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content, if you want to see more reviews of The Promised Neverland, because like it's my favorite weekly Shonen Jump manga series. I just think it's fantastic. This chapter was really good, you know, and if you want me to review more of these, like I said, just like, comment, and subscribe. Don't, do the thing. This is the Black Manga Critic, and I'm out.